Okay, so now I want to share with you a really cool concept that will help you remember how to pose hands when they're off the body. So let's talk about it. When your hands are above your waist, let's do that. When they're above the waist, traditionally hands down actually look better. When they're below the waist, hands look better like this. Now, when it's above the waist, it can work both ways, but when it's down, it looks weird. Watch this. If I bring my hand below my waist, again, if I'm a girl, this looks weird. Like right back in, it looks weird. So up is more elegant. The minute it goes above the waist, it's just pure gravity. Let the hand just go down. That being said, that can work when you're actually holding a veil or having some fun with the flowers and things like that. So remember, hands below the waist for a female form, just basically soften, up, and above the waist, down. Okay, beautiful. Now, let's look at this camera. So Lisa, really important to know as well, we talked about, bringing the jaw out if we have a problem with the double chin. We talked about shoulders back and the neck and things like that. What we want to do now is talk about eyes. What I want you to do is in that camera, I want you to lock into a stare. So no, I don't want you to look pretty. I want you to look almost psycho in about 10 seconds, okay? So you're locking into a stare. Yep, just lock into a stare. Okay, so it's almost like you're seeing nothing. You've got that bride who's waiting for you to change your lens, doing whatever you do. Now, if you want to break the monotony of those eyes, then I've been saying for years, I want a hint of a squint, just a little one. What happens is a little tension underneath the eyes just adds a little bit of mystery to the eyes, and it actually really works. Another way of doing this is actually closing your eyes. Now, on the count of 3, I want you to open them, but I want you to open them up very slowly and then lock into a stare, okay? So, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. So we basically take it on the way up, 1, 2, 3, click, and then she can go back into her stare for all I care, no problem at all. Also, whenever you're actually photographing someone in the sun, so let's say, for example, the light that's on us right now, that was just too bright, and you're squinting, you can't look at it, it's a bit tough, then I'll get you to close your eyes, and then I'll go 1, 2, 3, click. And then you can squint all you want, okay? As far as lips are concerned, lips are an important one because a lot of girls these days just watch Instagram and everyone's pouting and everyone looks like those little duck fish lips, whatever the hell's going on there. It just looks a little bit weird. Don't you know that your lips look weird when you do that? I'd rather you have small lips than just do the little, do an obvious pout, like, doesn't work, okay? So what we want to do is, now, Lisa's got beautiful full lips, but if she wants to make them look fuller still, a way of doing it without pouting is I might say to Lisa, I simply just want you, now you're breathing through your nose like everyone does, I want you to breathe through your mouth. What happens is it reminds her to part her lips. Now be careful because some brides will do this, like they're doing Lamaze breathing or something like that. I have no idea what that's all about, but breathing through the mouth is just enough with a part in the lips. We make the lips look fuller. If the lighting is coming down from the top, for example, then we get a little bit of a shadow underneath the lips and it emphasizes the lips still, and that's a great way of making the lips look fuller. Okay, fantastic. So now what I want to do is I want to talk about the idea of posing with flowers, because when you're photographing a wedding, you are going to need to know how to do that. Now, a personal bias, let me just say this with a warning, and I mentioned it under my breath just before, that posing flowers, I have no problem with flowers. I think they're pretty, they're great, but they're not really that meaningful. Like, why are you just holding the flowers on a day? It's because it's traditional, great, fantastic. That's embellishment, great. Once you get shots of the flowers with the bride, and especially with the groom, like I said, I would rather you get some more emotion out of those hands than hide them with flowers. But let me grab some flowers. Just want you to hold them there like that. So what we want to do is, you'll normally find there's a sweet spot with the flowers, and there might be some pins, for example. There might be an ugly part of that particular bouquet, so you've got to be careful with that. So you want to work out the sweet spot, and let's assume that's a sweet spot. Remember what we said about the hands on the actual, so let's just cross your arms again, and then bend the wrist right in, beautiful. Now keep that hand exactly the way that is. Keep that hand, keep that hand, keep that hand, beautiful. And then that one, do the exact same thing. Perfect. So the good thing is that if you wanted to actually put the hands on top of each other, you want to actually get the ring being visible. And also, A big mistake is actually putting the flowers right here and covering up the chest, covering up the curves. Not a great idea. So what I want you to do now is just bring it just below your bust. Yep, and then shoulders back and arms out. What we want to do is we want to have breathing space between here and here, and we want it just below the bust. Now, this will change if, let's say, you are photographing a plus-size bride. Let's say you do have, even the shoulders back, you've still got those little pinches of skin over the dress. This is where you can hide a lot of cool things, all right? Another way of holding flowers, again, if you did have a problem area in this way, is cradle them like a baby. So just do that for me on this arm, and then turn your body this way. And you can see how that would actually work for a close-up as well. Now, if you wanted to, you can bring this a little bit closer, bring your chin forward, and then tilt your face a little bit, and then that could be a really, really beautiful shot. Now, yes, it could be cropped up a little bit closer. This might look awkward because that's going to be an issue, but it just depends on what you're looking at, okay? But flowers are a really cool thing if it's done well and traditionally. So let's now look at you full length. So hold them in front of you. I'm going to stand right here as if I'm basically photographing you, just to get a perspective of what's going on. So just stand one little step this way, bit more. There we go, perfect. It's actually really good. Lisa followed my direction really well there. Often if you say take a step, a bride might take a big step. So take a step to your right, okay? So we don't want that. So if you wanted some micro adjustments, so if you can see how she's being framed by the actual door, so stand right in the middle of that area. So let's say, see how she's slightly off the center of that door in the background there. Now, of course, this is not really about composition. This is really about posing. But if I wanted her to take a step, I might say, take a micro step to your left, little one. Stop. There you go, perfect. And what happens is you always hear that little pitter-patter, and that's when you know you're doing well. Now, do you see how the flowers are almost pointed towards the camera? In fact, point the flowers more towards me. Do you see how the perspective looks a little bit weird? Now, this could be a good shot, arguably, if you were photographing maybe the flowers at maybe 1.4, 1.2, and then you had her eyes out of focus or something like that. So I'd only pose the flowers like that if you wanted the body out of focus. Traditionally, if you're photographing full length, that just looks weird. It's just coming out of nowhere, and there's about half a foot or maybe almost a foot between the flowers and her body. So now I want you to bring the stemmer down a little bit and bring it a little bit lower, and then shoulders back. Now remember what we said about the formal full-length traditional pose? She's standing flat-footed. She's got great shape, but basically we're just seeing straight on either side. So now what we do is let's go back to our pose, turn your body on a bit of an angle, point your left toe towards me, slide the heel back in, bend the knee, shift the butt away from the camera, arms off the body. Perfect. Bring the elbows back a little bit and tilt the flowers towards me a little bit, and then bring them back into your waist a little bit there. And now bring this hand a little bit out more. No, it's the other way. Perfect. Do you see how now she's got a gap between her arm and her body? Bring that right elbow back. So your other right, there you go. But you see how now I've still got the curvature of the bust, and I've still got the curvature of her butt there and her waist. Now turn your body slightly towards that camera so we get the actual similar result there. So let's have a look. Yeah, that's beautiful. So shoulders right back. And we've got that beautiful shot there as well. Fantastic. Very, very important. Okay. Now, with flowers, let's say, for example, if you're photographing with the groom and the flowers, we're going to show you how we do a traditional full-length portrait with the flowers as well. Now, I want to share something else with you. If you hold the flowers with one hand like this, what's happening from this perspective? Well, we call that foreshortening, that the flowers are coming out of her hand and out of her elbow. She's literally missing the length of her forearm. We call that foreshortening. So if I was to point towards this camera, for example, you see how my whole hand or my whole arm is actually fits within a circle. Now, that is going to make everything look a little bit weird. I mean, my hand's coming out of my shoulder, but my arm is actually this long. So what you need to know about foreshortening is that you don't necessarily want to point a body part towards the camera. Perfect example, a bride sitting on the ground, her feet are towards you, and then her feet are just coming out of her hips. It just looks weird. So remember not to foreshorten any part of the body. Commonly, like I said, hands will be done like that, flowers, holding champagne, and so on. Now let's go back again. Let's go back holding the flowers in front of you again. Another important thing to remember is that when you're holding flowers, do you see how her arms are on a bit of an angle? Just take one little microstep to your left. That's it, beautiful. So now we're holding the flowers and there's a bit of a triangle. If she holds her hands up too straight, give me a straight, basically bring your forearms parallel to the ground. That's it, a bit lower, lower, stop. Now, Lisa looks ripped right now because she does work out, she's got a definition in her arms and stuff like that, but that looks a bit masculine, doesn't work. So you never really want to get straight angles on arms, you want to break it. Think of it, the more triangles and bends that you create in a body, the better it's going to be. So bring the shoulders, the hands right down, shoulders back, and arms out a little bit, beautiful. That's going to really work for her. And again, if we wanted to do that with the traditional full-length foundation pose, as I call it, you would turn her body a bit this way, and then you would point her toe, you would bend her knee, hips right back, and lean forward. Beautiful. And again, how far you go with that particular pose, it really depends on the girl. So slow down with what you're doing. Just know that flowers, like I said, I believe are unemotional. Yes, they can be meaningful to whoever has purchased them, but often they're just an embellishment that we add that doesn't really mean much. So right now, we're going to continue on and we're going to share some more ideas and simplify posing for you.